Overnight, global markets and policymakers stayed focused on two intersecting forces: conflict risk and the accelerating technological transition. In the Middle East, uncertainty remains high as the US and Iran weigh whether to attend talks in Pakistan, with President Trump saying he expects a great deal even as Tehran has not confirmed participation. The ceasefire window is still a key market variable, because any renewed escalation can quickly feed into energy prices, shipping risk and inflation expectations. The Financial Times reports Iranian tankers are bypassing the U.S. blockade, highlighting how oil flows are adapting despite pressure. Separately, Gaza's reconstruction bill is being put at around $71 billion over 10 years in a UN-EU assessment, while the FT reports discussions around logistics and supply chain management proposals involving DP World. In Europe, Ukraine's President Zelensky has criticized the absence of U.S. envoys in Kyiv as disrespectful, underscoring strains around diplomacy and signaling. Ukraine also says the Druzhba pipeline carrying Russian oil to Europe can resume operations, a development being watched for its implications for European energy supply and financing arrangements. In a major strategic shift in Asia, Japan has loosened arms export rules, a break from post-war pacifist constraints that could reshape regional defense industry ties. On the technological revolution and artificial intelligence, a major corporate leadership change is in focus. SBS reports Tim Cook is stepping down as Apple CEO, with John Ternus named as his replacement. Investors will read this through the lens of Apple's AI strategy, product roadmap and supply chain execution, given the competitive pressure from AI-first platforms and devices. Turning to Australia, the economic and policy debate is sharpening around cost of living pressures, energy transition constraints, and public spending. The Guardian reports Treasurer Jim Chalmers' warning of tougher times ahead, describing the economy as being held hostage by the U.S.-Israel war on Iran language that signals the government's concern about imported inflation and confidence shocks. On state finances, the Sydney Morning Herald reports states and territories have collected record tax revenues while also taking on record debt, with warnings the current spending trajectory could become unsustainable if revenues soften. This is relevant for the broader public sector outlook, including infrastructure delivery and service funding. In the Australian public service and social policy space, the ABC reports NDIS Minister Mark Butler is preparing changes to the scheme, with advocates urging an end to uncertainty affecting around 500,000 Australians. Separately, The Conversation reports the government will cover the full cost of assistance with showering and related personal care under the Home Care Program from October, removing out-of-pocket costs for those supports. On competition and household budgets, SBS reports Woolworths is pushing back against allegations from the consumer watchdog that its prices dropped campaign used illusory discounts on Tim Tams and other items, an issue likely to keep pressure on supermarket pricing practices and trust. Locally in Victoria, ABC reports a power company warning that rising electricity demand is creating an undervoltage problem in parts of Melbourne, as infrastructure struggles to keep pace with the shift away from gas. It's a practical reminder that electrification is not just a policy goal but a grid capacity challenge that can affect everyday life, right down to appliances not performing as expected.